Get motivated by daily micro victories. Did you know that every single day, you are able to do certain things right? Everybody knows it. After all, that's the reason why you are in a relationship or why you are employed. If you're a student, it's also the reason why you're still in school. Despite the struggles that you may be feeling, you are doing well enough for you to at least stay in the game. Focus on these victories. You're already getting stuff done. Believe it or not, every single day packs opportunities for achievements. You're not just going through the motions. You're not just going through a checklist. There is always an opportunity for achievement there. These are called micro-achievements. Believe it or not, something as banal as showing up on time is an achievement. Did you know that there are a lot of people out there who have a tough time showing up on time? I know you're probably thinking that that's unprofessional. For whatever reason, people never run out of excuses for why they're always late. The fact that you can show up on time is a victory in itself. Similarly, getting small tasks done are victorious. Now, you may be thinking that this is too much. You might even be thinking that I'm pandering to you or condescending. No. Imagine when you first started, those small tasks were not so small because you haven't done them before. Now, you're knocking them out every day. Be aware of this. Finally, communicating with people clearly is also an achievement. Now, you may be thinking, well, as a human being, that is a default skill we don't have. Absolutely wrong. You can't even imagine how many people have bad communication skills. The fact that you're able to communicate clearly enough to get things done in whatever organization you're in is a big deal. I want you to be aware that showing up on time, getting small tasks done, and communicating clearly are achievements in of themselves. Now, they're not massive achievements, but they are achievements nonetheless. Allow yourself to become pumped up by each of these. Push yourself to do more microtasks like these. If you are constantly showing up on time, take it up to the next level and show up 15 minutes early. If you are getting small tasks done, level up by getting a lot bigger tasks done. Similarly, if you're a good communicator, take it to the next level and collaborate to achieve greater things. The great thing about small accomplishments is that they lay the foundation for even larger ones. However, this will only happen if that is your intention. You will only level up if you want to level up. Unfortunately, a lot of people dismiss their ability to achieve micro victories and they stay stuck. They think, well, this is really not that big of a deal. I do this all day. So what? That really is too bad, because if you set up a system where you achieve a streak of accomplishments, sooner or later you'll achieve momentum and you'll get motivated. This motivation grows like a wildfire. If you have been struggling with being productive in the office and you notice that one day, your to-do list just got shorter and shorter because you knocking stuff out, allow yourself to get in the moment. Allow yourself to achieve some level of physical, emotional, and mental momentum so things get easier and easier as you do them. This is paired with an increasing level of motivation. Try to recreate this next day and your motivation can push you to do more and more complicated tasks. The more you do it, the more momentum you get. Ideally, you should work on the small stuff to achieve a level of momentum and then give yourself a harder assignment. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to knock out the hardest item on your to-do list, but if you have something moderate, the moment you knock it out, you get a nice sense of reward. You did something that you normally would avoid. That's a big thing. Lay your day out by scaling difficulty to get motivated by daily micro victories in a systematic and methodical way. Follow these steps. Step number 1. List out all your to-do tasks. Step number 2. Start with the easiest and end with the biggest and most intimidating things. By biggest, I'm talking about tasks that really can't be broken down. They have to be handled in one big block. Step number 3. Blast through the first items. Since you're starting out with the easiest items, chances are you've done them before. Chances are you know full well how easy they are, so knock them out. Blast through them as quickly as possible. However, do not compromise quality. Step number 4. Allow yourself to become emotionally aware and excited when you see yourself blasting through easier items. Stop for a second and allow yourself to become emotionally aware. At least tell yourself, it is happening. I'm blasting through this stuff. I'm no longer taking an hour checking email, or shuffling papers, or going over calculation that I know are already set. I'm not robbing myself of time doing busy stuff. Let it sink in. Get excited that you are blasting through your list. Step number 5. Push yourself to do more and more complicated stuff as you cut through the easy items on your to-do list like a hot knife through butter. Eventually, you'll get to more complicated stuff. This is more moderately difficult material. Allow yourself to carry the momentum that you build basting through the basic stuff. If you are truly emotionally aware, this should not be a problem. You know that you're doing well, so go with it. Let it happen. Step number 7. As you knock out more complicated stuff, allow yourself to get even more excited. It's easy to look at personal excitement in terms of volume. For example, you're going through your to-do list and it says read and responds to 100 emails. Once you've done that, you're thinking that you've done really well, but you have to go beyond that. You have to also look at the quality or complexity of the item you're handling. Get excited by those items. Understand that normally, this takes quite a bit of work and getting used to, but here you are knocking it out. Allow yourself to scale up the excitement that you have. This is a sense of ownership, control, and discipline you're achieving. Step number 8. Map out how far you get each day. Now, we've got some bad news for you. If you laid out your to-do list properly, chances are there will be some items there that really take it out of you. Maybe these are the moderate stuff or the harder materials. Whatever the case may be, as you initially blast through the easy stuff and things slow down a little bit with the moderate stuff, eventually, you'll reach a point where you'll run out of time. Maybe it's time to go home or it's time to get on with the rest of your day. Whatever the case may be, you did not quite destroy your daily to-do list. Well, don't worry about it. This is not the end of the world. I just need you to map out how far you reached that day. This has to be graphical. You have to come up with a map. Don't beat yourself up unnecessarily if you notice that you're backsliding or if there's a fluctuation in the pattern. Don't be discouraged by that. This happens to the very best of that. Instead, just look at the map and allow yourself to get motivated by the fact that you are making progress. Eventually, you'll notice a pattern. The completion map eventually starts averaging more to the right. This means that over an extended period of time, you are making consistent progress. Allow yourself to get excited about this. Most importantly, regardless of how far you get every single day, always shoot to go further and further each day. Stay focused on your life purpose. Stay connected to it. Allow it to push you forward. That is your motivation. With that motivation, shoot to go further and further each day with your to-do list. Turn to others when you begin to slow down. In this chapter, I'm going to walk you through a technique that is normally a negative practice. Generally speaking, it's a bad idea to compare yourself to other people. People do this on Facebook all the time. They look at their friends' vacation pictures, they look at their friends' kids' graduation pictures, or photos of their friends in the driveway with a new Ferrari, BMW or Mercedes-Benz. They look at amazing pictures of their friends on Instagram as they go through exotic travel destinations all over the world. And then they do something that is all too predictable, they feel miserable. You see, normally, when you compare yourself to other people, you line up what's missing in your life to what they have going for them. When you feel envious or when you feel sad looking at somebody's vacation pictures, the first thing that comes to your mind is the fact that you haven't been going on vacation. Maybe you can't afford it, or maybe you just don't have the time. Whatever the case may be, you feel left behind. Similarly, when you compare yourself and your relationships to the 30th wedding anniversary of your friend, you think about how inadequate, dissatisfied, or frustrated you are with your relationships. Similarly, when you compare appearances to other people, you look at how chiseled, toned, and how closely they look like Greek gods and goddesses, and you look at how out of shape you are. People do this all the time. When they compare, they automatically line up their worst and compare it to somebody's best. Now, let me ask you, is that a winning strategy? Of course not. But we can't help but do it. Obviously, if you have $10 million in the bank, you're not going to compare yourself to somebody with $1 million. That's a foregone conclusion. When it comes to income, you blow them out of the water each and every day. Similarly, if you look like Brad Pitt, you're not going to compare yourself to somebody who doesn't look all that good. Instead, the human tendency is to compare what we don't have or what we're insecure about what people have going for them. We compare their best with our worst. This is why, generally speaking, it's a bad idea to compare yourself with others. However, in this chapter, you're going to use this all too human tendency to work for you instead of against you. That's right, you're going to compare yourself to successful people you know. But here's the difference: when you compare yourself to, let's say, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Colonel Sanders, Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan, you name it, you tell yourself a different story. Normally, when you compare yourself to your friends and family members who seem to be doing well in life, you tell yourself a certain story. You tell yourself, you've been left behind. You don't have it. They're so much happier than you. They deserve to be happy and you don't. Those are the normal narratives that go through your head. In this case, you're going to tell yourself a different story. You are going to tell yourself that they went through hassles. Did you know that Michael Jordan originally was rejected by his high school basketball team? Did you know that Sylvester Stallone had so many doors slammed in his face because he had this ridiculous screenplay about a boxer in Philadelphia called Rocky? Did you know that Colonel Sanders of KFC chicken fame failed so many times in life? Believe it or not, there are lots of successful people that flirted with the idea of suicide because they met so many failures and disappointments in their life. But here they are, textbook cases of success, overcoming the odds, and the ability to win. Tell yourself that those people went through hassles too, but they were able to do it. They went through periods of doubt. They went through periods where everybody around them told them that they were crazy and that they were stupid. In fact, Albert Einstein was told that he won't amount to anything. That's how stupid he appeared to his high school teacher. But nobody's talking about his high school teacher now, right? We talk about Albert Einstein, Michael Jordan, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs as heroes. But they are human beings too. They felt the pain of disappointment. They felt the pain of low expectations because there are so many people telling them that there's something wrong with them. Steve Jobs was adopted. His mother gave him up for adoption. And it broke his heart that his birth parents also had another child, but that child wasn't put up for adoption. He was the one put up for adoption. Do you know what that does to a person's psychology? That person, for the rest of his or her life, would ask, why did I get to put up for adoption when my sibling wasn't? I need you to get into the minds of these successful people and realize certain lessons. First, as I have mentioned earlier, they go through hassles just like you, but they were able to overcome. Compare yourself to them in terms of their ability to overcome. In fact, a lot of those people start off in a worse position than you. Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, one of the richest companies in American history, actually started his company in the red. He actually violated the American securities law just to raise money for his first store. That's how broke he was. But now, his descendants are all billionaires. This brings home to the second lesson. These people that you're comparing yourself to are not better than you. Oprah Winfrey did not come from a privileged background, but she was able to overcome it. If she can do it, you can do it too. These people did something different from you. They improved their problem-solving skills. That's all there is to it. This means that you have to allow yourself to challenge your problem-solving skills. If you are faced with any kind of challenge, try to go under it. Try the front door. If that's not available or if the basement is off limits, try the roof. If that's not happening, try the side door or the back door. If today is simply impossible, try it the next day and the day after. Try next week or next month. Eventually, you will be able to solve the puzzle because every single one of life's difficulties and disappointments is simply a puzzle that you did not have the solution for at that given time. But just like a puzzle in real life, just because you did not solve it right, it doesn't mean that you'll be unable to solve it forever. Keep trying. Map out how far you get and who you thought about to inspire you. Keep repeating this daily. Keep pushing. In fact, if you only shot for a 1% improvement every day, you will eventually break through. Think about it, a 1% improvement. It may not seem like much, but it means that in 100 days, which is over 3 months, you will double your results. Not too bad. And if you keep shooting for that 1% improvement every day, you will overshoot your goals sooner rather than later. Don't be afraid to turn to the lives of other people when you begin to slow down. When you start feeling resistance and that nagging doubt enters the back of your head where you feel that things are just not possible and that you're crazy for even trying, slow down. Understand that another person who had it worse than you went through the same situation, and they came out on top. Nobody helped them. Nobody gave them a hand up. You can do the same. Mentally standardize your state of flow and call it into mind at this stage. You should already have established states of flow. You should already be achieving that mental and emotional state. Now, the next step is to call it into mind. In other words, make it happen on demand. As I've mentioned in the introduction to this book, the fact that you achieve states of flow from time to time is not enough. Because let's face it, everybody achieves a state of flow from time to time. What you're shooting for is something dramatically different. You're shooting to achieve that state of flow on command. It is not based on how you feel, not based on whether there is the right kind of drama around you, and it doesn't matter whether people are pushing you and are properly supported. No. You must be able to call this state of mind on command, based on your will, based on your decisions, and based on your agenda. This is how you separate consistently and habitually successful people from everybody else. How do you do this? Well, follow the steps below. Step number 1, pay attention to your performance. Get ready for the next time you achieve a state of flow. Anticipate it. Be ready for it. What are you going to do when it happens? Well, the next time you achieve a state of flow, take notes. Savor it. Stop for a second and tell yourself, I am in a state of flow. This is happening. Allow yourself to get emotionally absorbed in the process. Try to remember every detail of your mental and emotional experience. Remember, the hallmark of a state of flow is when things become really easy and everything is predictable. You make a move, something positive happens. You make another move, and another thing happens. Remember every detail of this mental and emotional state. Step number 2, simplify it in a form you can quickly call into mind. Please understand that since you are feeling certain things and thinking about certain things, you can create a formula or at least an adequate description of your state of flow. Pay attention to what happened before, during, and after that state. Step number 3, test your ability to trigger states of flow on command. Now that you have written down the last time you were in a state of flow and you've kind of broken down the different elements, think about how your motivation spikes up. Think about it and see if your mental clarity increases. That's how you know you're on the right track. Keep tweaking until the mental images that you're thinking of truly triggers a state of flow. I wish I could tell you that this is very easy. I wish I could tell you that there is some sort of cookie-cutter, one-size-fits-all solution for this. There is not. You just have to do it on your own. You just have to keep tweaking those mental images until you reach that high level of mental and emotional clarity. Your motivation level must be palpable. You must truly feel it. You're not playing mind games with yourself. You're not deluding yourself. This is really because the motivation you feel, paired with mental clarity, translates into actual results. This is important. Because you know you're just engaging in self-delusion when you feel good, but that's it. You know you're onto something real when you're able to produce more work and that work meets higher standards of quality. That's when you know you have triggered a state of flow. Everything else is a mental mirage. Know the difference. Step number 4. Try it consistently when you feel your motivation triggered by this mental image that you use to enter a state of flow. Keep it going by focusing on mental images that you know trigger your state of flow. You can also do this when you feel your motivation is lagging. Try to spike it up with the right mental image. You're probably going to have to switch through many different mental images until you get it right, but that's okay. The key is to identify a consistent mental image that puts you in that place. Step number 5. Double your efforts. Here's the secret. When you have the mental image and you've achieved that state of flow, put it to use. Double your efforts. Allow yourself to do twice as much as before. If you're only able to file 1 report for your job each day, use your state of flow to do 2, then 3, then 4. Go with that feeling. Don't say to yourself, well, I have met my quota already, or what am I doing? If I step up my production, chances are, my supervisor, my boss, or the owner of the company would increase their expectations of my productivity. I might be shooting myself in the foot here. Forget all those doubts. Just go with the feeling that now you are taking ownership of an important part of your life. Before you were lazy, unmotivated, and you were just doing the bare minimum to avoid getting fired. Now, you are going to be a star. You're going to be one of the few assets in the company that you work for. Did you know that in any given organization, 20% of the people there account for 80% of the results? This is called the Pareto Principle, also called the 80-20th rule. If you want to get anywhere in life, be part of the 20%. The 80-20th rule is an iron rule of human life. Did you know that 20% of the population owns 80% of the wealth? 20% of the population pays the vast majority of the taxes? 20% of any NBA team account for 80% of their points? This applies across the board. This is hardwired into the human condition. Be part of that 20%. Let it happen. Double your efforts today. Step number 6. Push harder on more difficult tasks. Focus on getting a crystal clear view of the mental image that triggers your state of flow. Zoom in on it. Allow it to sink in. Once you get triggered and you're extremely motivated, just let it happen. Don't break it. Don't stop. Don't edit yourself. Don't say, I'm just doing too much, or I'm taking on something that's too big. No. Just focus on your harder tasks and just push through. Allow the momentum to carry you forward. Don't mentally say, what am I doing? Don't think of any thoughts or images that would make you doubt what you're doing. Let the momentum carry you forward. This is how you mentally standardize your state of flow and call it into command. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, it becomes part of who you are, and success becomes habitual.